Good afternoon. We're going to wait about 2 minutes. People are still logging on, so I just want you to know we're going to start us just in about another minute or two. Okay, I know we have more people coming on, but I don't want to hold everyone up, and we have some really good information to provide today, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the NAWB webinar, Workforce Development Board's Role in Building the Talent Pipeline in the Growing Care Economy. We're thrilled that you have decided to join us. This is a very interesting, growing topic. So you guys who are on this in this webinar are at you're basically at the forefront of something that's really happening. And so I congratulate all of you for being here. My name is Jan Bray. I am the Senior Advisor at the National Association of Workforce Boards, and I work with a lot of their programs, their grant programs, especially in apprenticeship. So it is a pleasure to be part of this webinar and to be working in this area. So our goals for today's workshop is okay, let's put the next slide up so everybody can see them. There we go. So, as I said, this is the care economy, and a lot of our workforce boards, I'm not quite sure. I didn't know actually before I got involved in this project what care economy was. So, we want to highlight what the care economy is, what are the growth opportunities, and then what are the career pathways that are part of this sector, and how does one enter it, at what level. There are multiple entry points. We will talk about registered apprenticeship as a strategy to meet the workforce needs in this area. And then we are going to showcase the role of workforce developments in supporting the care economy, which is very important. There's a huge role for workforce boards to provide and to step up as you do with all other industry sectors. So we are thrilled to have today two very important people who are going to be the speakers on this session. And first we have Kelly Middleton Banks. I know many of you know Kelly. She's a technical advisor with the National Institute for Work and Learning, which is part of FHI 360. The Institute actually is a national hub funded by the U.S. Department of Labor, and the Apprenticeship Builds America's Grant. It's put in place by that, and it's part of a broad bipartisan commitment to expand apprenticeship as a workforce solution. And the Institute's programs serve youth and young adults in career preparation, exploration, workforce development, and education to career transitions. Kelly had served as Director of Programs and Initiatives for NAWB, so she certainly understands the workforce boards. And she also worked for the Council for Opportunity in Education and has a master's in education. So Kelly is very well informed and experienced, and will add a great amount to this discussion today in the webinar. We're also very fortunate to have, I'm thrilled, Jennifer Serino, who's the Executive Director of Lake County Workforce Development Department in Illinois. And so Jennifer is an innovative designer of workforce development solutions and creating access to these opportunities. She has over 36 years of experience in nonprofit leadership and finance, with a strong track record of relationship building, workforce board management, report and grant writing, grants administration, business management, and organizational development. She's done very little in her career. She also, prior to going to Lake County, served as the executive director of the workforce board in northern Cook County, and has a degree in psychology and education. Boy, we could use that first part of your degree. So, yeah, so We're thrilled. We welcome Jennifer and Kelly, both of you being here. Uh, they're going to talk about the care economy. They're going to talk about the role the workforce boards can play in this, challenges and opportunities. And I'm going to turn it over, Kelly, to you.
Thanks so much, Jan. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. Really excited for today's conversation to talk a little bit about the care economy, NIWL and FHI 360's role in this work. And I'm excited to hear Jennifer Serino share how Lake County Workforce Development Board is embracing occupations and supporting employers in the care economy. So Jan actually gave some insight on the National Institute of Work and Learning and FHI 360, but wanted to just follow up by saying that the FHI 360 is a international and domestic nonprofit. We work in 60 countries across the world, and NIWL is part of the domestic U.S. programs arm, and we really focus on the cross-section of between workforce and education. And we have been very diligent in supporting local communities and creating opportunities to improve the individuals and citizens' lives in those communities. And so we do that through a variety of ways: capacity building, workforce initiatives and strategies, as well as technical assistance. And so we're thrilled to be able to talk a little bit more about some of the work that we've been really intentional about as it pertains to supporting local communities and meeting the needs for the care economy. So starting off from this, what is really the care economy? And so using the Rockefeller Institute's narrow definition of care workers, there are over 100 different occupations within the care economy. We really define we define a care worker as someone who engages in direct services to support people's necessary functioning and human capabilities across an individual's lifespan. And that can be direct practitioners in healthcare, childcare, elder care, K through 12 education, and other directly provided social services. And that can include, the care workforce really includes three primary groupings: social services, healthcare, education. Later on, and as Jen talks a little bit about what Lake County's been really focusing on, you'll get a chance to see how a workforce development board is clustering these and occupations to be able to support that information, support local employers. There's about 17 million people employed in healthcare alone, and projected 2.6 million new jobs that'll come about in healthcare. And there's an expected 24% growth in health and social care employment. And so when you're thinking about the care economy, what we're seeing is that there's a continual need for support and education to create the talent pipelines to meet that growing demand of occupations and employers for work. So this is just gives you some understanding of kind of the care economy, the types of types of industries that is associated with the care economy, and hopefully just some background on how we frame and think about the care economy. So Jan mentioned that we have been granted an Apprenticeships Building America grant, and through that support, we are really aligning and focusing on the care economy, specifically around youth development, mental health, and expanding careers of those with lived experience. And the reason why I think we're really leaning into apprenticeships is it can really be seen as a tool to be utilized across multiple care economy roles, helping to create scalable and sustainable pathways into some of these high demand fields. And as you all know, apprenticeships are earn and while you learn. They're extremely structured career pathways, and they help build equity in the workforce, which is so critical in these times, and also help support retention of employer partners. And so we saw an opportunity to really support local communities, employers, and organizations in meeting that workforce demand by leveraging apprenticeships. And the Apprenticeship Building America grant has allowed us to be able to do that. So this slide is one that, I really do like to share because this is the way in which we are thinking about leveraging apprenticeships around this national momentum around the care economy. As of right now, 35 states are now offering early childhood or care-related apprenticeships, and federal funding is really helpful in scaling these models for community health workers and peer support specialists. So what you're looking at is the way in which we're approaching and thinking about how best to create career pathways and talent pipelines in the care economy. And so through our efforts with the Apprenticeship Building America grant, we've developed a series of pre-apprenticeship curriculums, as you can see, a youth development practitioner and empowering futures, which would hopefully lead into DOL registered apprenticeships, youth development practitioner, for our youth development practitioner pre-apprenticeship. And then looking at mental health, we would lead into our community health worker and peer support specialist or substance use. And the occupations that these apprenticeships can align with vary from everything of youth service intake to after school programming when thinking about youth development, or mental health peer support or group facilitator when thinking about some of the community health worker and peer support registered apprenticeships. Or when thinking about substance use, it could be crisis intervention specialist or after school programming, depending on the type of organization that may be in your community and may be looking to provide those types of services. Um, Registered apprenticeships allows for that structured professional development, and it gives a more stable way to enter into some of these care economy roles, working closely with employer partners to help design what that looks like. And these occupations are just a few of the possible entry points into the care economy where registered apprenticeship can help do that. And so we're really pursuing these occupations with our local employer partners to help create solutions for some of the workforce needs and demands that we've heard from local communities. Wanting to take a second to just dive in a little bit about what is included in those pre-apprenticeship curriculums. Our Empowering Futures curriculum that we've developed with the National Youth Employment Coalition, which is a partner of ours, consists of 4 modules of 40 hours of instructional material. And those 4 items that you see listed are really just an opportunity to see the types of content that pre-apprenticeship participants would engage in. You'll receive for those participants a credly badge that for mental wellness. And our youth development practitioner is 42 hours, including some key components around exploring youth development and introduction to positive youth development. And both of these are free and available to entities that are interested in standing up a pre-apprenticeship program with their local students or youth in their area. We felt really strongly about the pathway for care economy occupations, that it doesn't just start after school, and realize that in order to get more students and more individuals into the pipeline, that you have to start at a younger age. And so pre-apprenticeship definitely gives that opportunity to provide exposure, foundational skills, career readiness, as you all know, and those are critical elements to get individuals interested and prepared for taking the next step into either a occupation or registered apprenticeship. And another point that I like to point out is just with our apprenticeships that we are standing up, FHI 360 is not only a intermediary in this space, we're also sponsoring programs. And this just gives you an idea of some of the occupations that we've really found to be areas for growth in the care economy. And so youth development practitioner, supporting organizations that are serving youth, creating that foundational skill base for individuals who are interacting with youth on a regular basis. We've heard a lot across different communities, hearing that a lot of people may find themselves into a youth serving role, but may not have, because they love the idea of supporting youth, but may not have always the foundational skills. So this youth development practitioner apprenticeship is a way to really provide that. It can also be a community building momentum for local communities who are looking to have some consistency around how best to serve youth in their local community. Community health worker that we've been able to sponsor as well has been an opportunity to provide more opportunities for different employer partners to create the pipeline for community health workers in their local communities, but we've also built in some certifications within community health worker, so it ends up creating a dual purpose. Not only for those apprentices that engage in it, but for the employer partners who are looking to really upskill their staff to be better prepared to meet the needs of those individuals and participants and local community uh, citizens. And then our substance use disorder has been a partnership with community colleges in the California area, and that's really been designed to provide support for those individuals who have had exposure or experience with substance use and to create the better opportunities for them. And so all of these apprenticeship programs that we have are registered with the Department of Labor. We're also developing a peer support specialist apprenticeship for those with lived experience. A little bit of background around how these came about and where we've seen apprenticeships in action. Jen Serino is on the call today with Lake County, and in regards to some of the work we've done with Lake County, really created a community-focused approach to supporting organizations around youth development. And so there were partners throughout the community, be it Boys and Girls Clubs or youth bills or social entrepreneurs, and really created an opportunity to have a consistent voice around how best can we support the youth and in that area. And with community health worker, we worked with an employer partner in the state of California who really needed to upskill and certify their employees to be better prepared to support the population they were serving. And so that employer partner has partnered with us to be able to not only meet certain state requirements, but those job seekers are now going to receive not only education and information around community health worker, but also a peer support certification in the midst of that. And so what we've found in the course of working with different employers, workforce boards, and local communities is that there's a real true desire for creating more functional professional development structured opportunities for staff, and that employer partners and community organizations are really hungry to meet the needs that have been found in their local communities. And so how do we go about doing that? And apprenticeship is one solution to be able to meet that need. As I mentioned, and Jan mentioned earlier, we are the Promising Leaders for Apprenticing and Care Economy is funded by the Apprenticeship Building America grant. As a sponsor and an intermediary, we offer outreach and education around apprenticeship, around the care economy, those career pathways and occupations that I mentioned earlier. We also help and support organizations in developing their apprenticeship programs or really engaging employer partners to think about how they could leverage apprenticeship in a way to support and meet the workforce needs and demands that they have. We as a sponsor and intermediary also have developed curriculum. And as I mentioned, the pre-apprenticeship curriculum is available for you, but we can also create and support you as you think about the type of curriculum and training that you may find that you need based on the employer needs and local community needs. And as well, we have helped with support some of the funding and sustainability as well as the apprentice recruitment. On the right-hand side, you see some of the partners. National Association of Workforce Boards is a great partner of ours, and we are glad to be a part of this webinar. We're also working with the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals, New Ways to Work, National Youth Employment Coalition, Public Works Alliance, and the National Collaborative for Transformative Youth Policy. This work is not done in isolation. This work is definitely one that requires, strategy and investment and intentionality. We are thrilled to be able to really try to meet what we are now seeing as a shortage in many of the care economy areas, and wanting to be able to be a resource to local communities to help support that effort. We've focused on California, Massachusetts, and Illinois at this point in time, but we are looking and have started to expand in other states. And so wanting to always be available to try to create workforce strategies and solutions to support workforce development boards and the critical work that you're doing around supporting those employer partners and local entities, organizations, and job seekers in creating a better way of life and better well-being. And so I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to share a little bit of how we're playing a role in the care economy, and how we've started to partner with other entities and employers to be able to do that, and why it's so critical to do that at this time. And we look forward to continue to provide some support as the time goes on. I think we're next up is Jen Serino, and I think she'll be able to share more about how Workforce Development Board has really taken on the charge to meet that critical need in their workforce in their local community. And how some of that may have been birthed out of some of the work that we had a chance to do together through some of the youth development practitioner apprenticeship that Lake County participated on. So I will stop talking and we'll turn it over to Jen Serino, because I'm thrilled to hear how they are looking at the care workforce and what they're doing in their local community to meet that need. Jen?
Thank you, Kelly. Just real quick, Kelly and I have been working together for years. Before the care economy became the cool word, care economy, we worked on a community of practice around care economy issues. So thank you. Thank you for inviting me here, and the work that we're doing together. It has just leaped us forward with the care economy and with apprenticeships. The Lake County Workforce Development Board in Illinois, we are located in the northeast corner of Illinois. We're a single county workforce board, and our board really leads with innovation and knowing how we can solve the problems with the employers and help the employers not only hire, retain, but advance their workforce as they're adding to the economic prosperity across all communities in Lake County. So it is very community focused with a charge of meeting the employer demands. Next slide. When we talk about the care economy here in Lake County, and I know it's everywhere, right? We look at the major occupation clusters in the care economy, and healthcare support, healthcare practitioners, behavioral health and social services, early childhood, education, and long-term care. And as we focus on these occupations, we're looking to our industry base, to our employers, to help create better solutions to create access to not only to have them create access to talent, but to help the job seekers, job candidates, the underemployed, as well as the young adults and the youth gain access to these career pathways. Next slide. As a workforce area, I am grateful to be a grant recipient of the Apprenticeship Expansion Grant. So that has allowed us not only to have an apprenticeship specialist on staff to help navigate the registered apprenticeship landscape with employers, but recently we were able to hire on a second registered an apprenticeship specialist, and their focus is the care economy. So we're really taking a hard look at this and working with the employers in the industry in the region. And this is what we continue to find across all different clusters in the care economy, persistent vacancies and rapid turnover, credentialing and licensing, limited clinical work, that has been an ongoing, especially in the nursing field, and limited work-based learning slots, being able to open your doors to internships and work-based learning. And then the competition between hiring from one another. So again, being very isolated in the work and needing to create a better system so that we're all sharing in the way that we're developing the talent, and employers are able to come to the table collectively and bring that together. When we talk about workers in the care economy, again, no surprises here. It's what we all experience in workforce development: lack of childcare, even childcare deserts in areas, behavioral health needs across the board. Lake County, we have a very much an aging workforce, and noticing that more and more of that care is needed, not only in the home, but in the long-term care facilities. Underserved communities, and then that wage mismatch. And we see this a lot in Lake County, where the entry-level wages or the median wages in some of these jobs don't provide a living wage for our residents to take those jobs and be successful. Next slide. So our approach in looking at how we can be innovative in developing talent pipelines, especially in the care economy, has brought us to 3 different areas. We look at the youth pipeline development. We look at the employer. We look at labor market information and working with the employers to hear from them what their pain points are. And then we look at the community-based strategies. When you look at the care economy as a whole, it is all community-based strategies. Every occupation, every cluster is based in your community, and it's impacting the growth of your community. So when we looked at the youth pipeline development, and I'll go over some of these programs or innovations we put in place, we worked with partners to launch the Inspire Nursing Pathway Program. We also worked with partners to launch a high school student culinary pre-apprenticeship program in City of Hope, which is a cancer treatment facility. Employer-driven training solutions, looking at labor market, talking to employers, understanding the high demand and their needs, not only through data, but the work that they're doing through their HR. We hosted an employer summit. We're going to talk about how we brought apprenticeship programs to the high schools to train educators. And then on a community-based strategy level, Kelly talked about it, the work that we have been able to accomplish with FHI 360 in their youth development practitioner apprenticeship program has been phenomenal. This is where our board looked at our youth serving agencies throughout Lake County. We're rich with programs and agency, but we didn't have a cohesive system. And our board invested in incumbent worker training for youth serving organizations to identify employees to go through the YDPA program offered by FHI 360. We had 19 apprentices start. I believe we had 15 graduate and earn their certificate from DOL. That was across 6 different youth serving organizations. We had 9 supervisors involved with this. We had the mentors involved with this over, a year plus. One of the statements coming out of this was, I knew about that agency, but I never worked with my colleague in that agency. We now introduce 19 colleagues in the services, and they're working together to better serve not only the youth, but our communities. And then I'm going to talk about a parent mentor paraprofessional program. Next slide. So the Inspire Nursing Program. We have fortunate again in Lake County with our partnerships. We work closely with the College of Lake County. That's our community college in Lake County. We also have Rosalind Franklin University, Medicine and Science University. They came together along with members of our Lake County board to talk about the RN. The need for more RNs, the pathway needing to grow. And one of the areas that they focused on was an MSN. How can Rosalind Franklin do a better job at making the MSN, their program, more accessible to individuals in the underserved communities? And that's where we come into play with our partners. And we have launched this through a CNA program for high school juniors to take a CNA program with College of Lake County delivering the services at Rosalind Franklin University during their summer months between junior year and senior year. They go through this program, CNA program. And then at the end of the program, they sit for the exam and they get their CNA. That prepares them on a pathway during their senior year to go into that healthcare pathway. And going into that healthcare pathway with dual credits then puts them in a position to be better prepared to enter college. So whether they're going to College of Lake County or they're going to another four-year institution, we have Lake Forest College here that offers an RN program. Through all of this, collectively, all the partners are providing the wraparound service to these young adults to better prepare them and keep them on track. It's that wraparound service through workforce development that has been the critical player. And then it's mentorships through already existing MSN students at Rosalind Franklin that keep them focused that, yes, this is what I can do this, and help them with some studying and basic skills tutoring as they need it. Next slide. Again, focusing on our high school students, our youth development, we work with District 127. That's one of 19 high schools in Lake County. Our City of Hope, our cancer treatment center here, they identified a need to create a feeder system for their culinary service department. District 127 has a culinary program, as does several other high schools in our area. We started with District 127, and they're communicating and collaborating on setting up an internship program. So as the students are being educated in high school in the culinary program, in order to get endorsement through our programs here through CTE, you need 60 hours of an internship. And City of Hope is opening their doors for those 60 hours of internship. And then anything beyond that is then being jointly funded between City of Hope and Workforce Development. So if they're successful in their internship, we're continuing to service them for a longer internship as they decide this is the career pathway they want. What is fascinating about this high school program is they have a connection with a local farm. So these students are also learning while they're in high school, the farm to table, healthful culinary dishes. So they're learning that already in high school, and they're able to apply it when they're working as an intern at City of Hope. Next slide. We talked about the employers, needing to hear from the employers, understand from the employers. We hosted a healthcare summit. We had the major hospitals in our area speak at the Healthcare Summit, as well as the Illinois Health and Hospital Association, and talking about the challenges that they're each individually having with filling the pipeline in the care economy, but then also talking about their solutions. And from that, they have then come together in some small groups to talk further about solutions and share solutions as a whole. It's impactful. It's labor market data that we use. When you look at some of these stats, hospitals in Illinois, how they impact the economy and the number of workers in hospitals in Illinois. And that's the data our care economy specialist, apprenticeship specialist is using when he's going out to talk to the different hospitals about the value of apprenticeships, work-based learning, and creating career pathways. Next slide. When we narrow it down to Lake County, and that's us, that little red box in Illinois, um, you see the impact that hospitals have in the workforce in Lake County and why it's imperative that we are constantly sitting at the table. And that's what we do. So not only do we have the summit, and we host the summit at Rosalind Franklin in partnership with Rosalind Franklin with the major players in Lake County to learn about it, we then go back and do focus groups with smaller groups and understanding from the hospital perspectives, how can we in workforce development bring our community to help resolve some of these talent pipeline and filling the jobs that are needed. We have Lake Forest Hospital, which is part of Northwestern Medicine, is doubling their hospital footprint here in Lake County. It was 6 partners, including workforce development, at a workshop with them recently, talking about how we can all come together to solve the problem of hiring for these new jobs. And then we go back and we develop some work-based learning initiatives, incumbent worker training with the hospital using our WIOA dollars, but then also having that conversation around apprenticeship programs and how apprenticeship programs are in the care economy in several of these jobs. It's an attraction model, it's a retention model, and then it's an advancement model in the workplace. Next slide. So then we talked about how do we work with high schools? How do we work in the education? Again, looking at labor market and knowing that there's a shortage of teachers and a shortage of numbers of individuals applying for teaching jobs throughout our high schools in Lake County. So Waukegan Community School District, the high school, came to us and asked how we can help them looking at this disconnect that they're having with high school teachers. How can they hire more high school teachers? They have a robust paraprofessional program. And so what we sat down with them is how do we grow that paraprofessional program to prepare them to become a registered teacher, get their teaching certificate. I want to point out, you see on all of my slides, multiple logos. I mean, Kelly said it, right? You don't do any of this alone. You lean into your community members, you lean into national groups, you lean into resources to get this done, and then you raise each other up while you're doing that. Bloom Board is a national group, and they offer apprenticeship programs leading to teaching certificates. So we brought Bloom Board into Lake County, partnering with the high school, partnering with the Regional Office of Education. I believe we have about 15 paraprofessionals going through this program right now. And after 2 and 3 years, they will be leaving with not only registered apprenticeship, but also with a teaching certificate, several in high school to teach at the high school level and several in special ed. How have we helped the high school advance this program? We help cover tuition costs through an incumbent worker training program. It helps the paraprofessionals to increase their wages, so they're more likely to stay in the community and work at that school. And then the high school gives time off from their paraprofessional classes to study. So they're helping with the match for the incumbent worker training program as well. But it's a collective. It's building that program, and then it's laying on top of it the value of a registered apprenticeship program. Next slide. Then we go to the parent mentor program. So as I said at the very beginning, right, we talked about our solutions were driven by needing to focus on the young people and youth development in the workforce, and then focus on employers and labor market information and meet the demands that employers are asking us to meet. And the third pillar was, how do we focus on our community? So we have a very rich community, as I mentioned. Our Waukegan school district has a parent mentor program, and they bring in about 50 parent mentors to go throughout 20 different classrooms, 20 to 30 different classrooms. And these parent mentors are assisting the teacher, and they're also helping the students along the way. So they're helping with literacy, English language literacy, math literacy, reading literacy. And through this help, the parent mentors are being matched to the right classroom. Teachers are getting help. And what we have noticed through this program is these parent mentors are the right ones to start adding additional competencies and training so that they can go to the next level. With this program, it's been introduced a second level of training. So they're getting certified to do the next level of training through a curriculum offered through United Way of Lake County. And then it's also preparing several to go on to be a paraprofessional, which then can lead into the apprenticeship program. So we've created this whole pipeline. And through this program, we were just a partner over the last 2 years to provide to the parent mentors some workforce development, job readiness training as they're looking to move into jobs when they're done with parent mentoring. With our assistance, that's where we're looking at how do we assist with going into the next credential with paraprofessional? But then how do we help this partnership expand to more schools? So with a little bit of funding through workforce development, they have now hired another individual to manage a couple more elementary schools to expand this program. Again, it's meeting a community need, which then grows into meeting the needs of parents as they're looking for jobs. It grows into the need of meeting the needs of educators in Lake County as they need to fill some of that pipeline. Okay, all of this, this is what our board has to see when we bring to them some of these innovative ideas and build out from there. And I said it during, what I was talking about. What the biggest strength through this is as we work in the care economy and we train within the care economy and we connect community members in the care economy, those who start in the community stay in the community, and they're giving back to their own community. It builds a diverse workforce that's aligned with the community. The workforce looks like the community, which is critical for community prosperity. We help reduce the recruitment costs. We create career mobility across for advancement in the workplace. And then we address long-term workforce needs in these high demand roles. So we're continuing looking at how do we make more? How do we become more innovative? Who else is doing this well that we can bring into and lean on? And that's why we continue to work with FHI 360. I talked about an apprenticeship program we did with incumbent worker training. We are with another cohort working with not only incumbent workers through a second cohort, but we also recruited young adults that are interested in this program and working in youth serving organizations and sponsoring them through the program as well.
Wow, so that was very impressive, Jennifer, and it's a lot of information to take in. So first of all, I want to say to those on the call, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat or raise your hand and call on you and you can ask the question. We want to make this as informal as possible. Jennifer, let me ask you a question because that was a lot of information and it was very good and you're doing so much. How did the Workforce Board start into this? Was it employers coming to you that says we have an issue, we've got gaps? Was it labor market information you looked at go, boy, this is a growing area that you then put together, with the partners to talk about what we do? Because you're doing a lot of interesting solutions to fill in these gaps. So I'm wondering how the Workforce Board engaged in all of this.
So it was some of our pain points. We had pain points with a fragmented system in serving young adults. So we had to find solutions on how to partner with high schools as well as community-based organizations to create a pipeline for high school students and young adults. Our community is very vocal. all of our communities are very vocal and wanting to know how we can give back to the communities, how we can grow the communities. So being centric to communities, and we have 52 municipalities in Lake County. They're all completely different. So it's addressing the needs at each community level. Um, and then, of course, it's labor market information. And we have several hospitals on our board, and it's that conversation. When they talk to other businesses on what has worked well, it's like, wait, how do I get some of that here as well? Um, and then we talk a lot about, especially in the health field, that it is a career, right? It's a long-term career, and onboarding young people into that long-term career, when we make that connection with young people and the healthcare system, we have then a trusting relationship with that healthcare system, and we're able to continue to work with them, not only in filling jobs, but as I like showing up to a summit to talk about this so that we're sharing ideas. And it's constantly looking at the labor market information from the employers as well.
Mhm. So are you utilizing the apprenticeship programs that are sponsored and developed by FHI 360? Or
We
did
have,
you? Right.
yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So that's it. So, what I think is interesting is a lot of these occupations that have been talked about today that we hear in the care economy are fairly new. The work itself might not be new, but thinking of it as an occupation has sort of been new. So, Kelly, let me ask you then, when FHI was looking at all of this, the Institute Workforce Learning was looking for this. Why did you center on these occupations? What was the rationale behind that?
It's similar to what Jennifer spoke to. We were doing work with organizations who were supporting youth that were justice involved, so justice involved youth. And so we had been doing that for a really long time. And what we were hearing from a lot of the organizations that we were supporting is exactly how Jennifer pointed out. There were certain pain points. Retention was difficult. There was, a need for a consistency and commonality around how these organizations were supporting and serving youth. And then, of course, the need for more youth to be supported and served continue to grow. And so the youth development practitioner apprenticeship, which was our first step into the space, was really birthed out of that. And we registered that program 5 years ago. And so I've been working with organizations, creating that professional structured um, development opportunity, where we started to acknowledge and see how there continued to be a need for additional support in occupations like peer support specialists and other behavioral health associated roles, because it's similar work in the sense of supporting those targeted populations. And we were hearing that there was continued need for these individuals, but not enough people to take on that role. And so really it was, as Jen pointed out, listening to the community partners we were working with, acknowledging, the increased need for mental health and support, looking at the labor market information, and also noticing that these occupations, like you said, they're not new. They have existed, but they may have not necessarily had the apprenticeship um, that was a part of it, as a way to move into these roles. And so we saw it as a way to create that opportunity for professional development for individuals who were interested, for youth that was interested, because peer support is not just for adults. There's been a growing need for youth peers to support that population. And so that's really where we honed our focus on. How do we create solutions for communities that have a need for more individuals to support the youth in their community, or individuals with mental health needs? And so we really did, decide to focus on these occupations as a way to hopefully help help those communities.
Well, you've done a good job of it, so thank you for doing that. So, Jen, let me ask, I mean, what you've put up there is phenomenal. What have been your challenges? What did you try and didn't work? I think we learn as much from those experiences as we do from those that work. So, what would you share with the group that helps them avoid all of that?
What did we try that didn't work? I'm going to start with the Youth Development Practitioner Apprenticeship Program. We opened it up to all of our youth serving organizations. We held several information sessions over months. We thought this was well, it is a gem, right? And we expected more to be part of this system solution. So we were surprised that we had 6, which was phenomenal, youth serving organizations, but we were surprised with those that said, yeah, this is not for me. So why did that occur? It was not understanding apprenticeship programs, and not understanding how this can help an employer in being able to, one, retain their employee and help that employee advance in the workplace. So what we've done with that is been more vocal with apprenticeship programs and maybe not labeling it apprenticeship, but better listening to the employer and hearing what they need and then structuring a program, a workforce development program to meet their needs today and not always trying to sell apprenticeship programs.
Very good. Well said. I agree. And that's true regardless of the industry sector, correct?
Right. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, Kelly, did you want to add something?
I just want to echo what Jen said. You notice I keep saying a structured professional development opportunity, in addition to apprenticeship. I think you're absolutely right when sometimes you put the term apprenticeship forward. People have varying degrees of what that may look like and what that may require of them. And a lot of times when we're talking to community-based organizations and small employers, because apprenticeship is not the solution just for big employers. It actually fits for your smaller employers and CBOs, and the occupations that we're focusing on really do sit with much more of the CBOs and smaller behavioral health organizations or smaller health systems. And so we always start with the conversation, well, how are you currently, training your staff? Like, how are you, creating those opportunities for professional development? And that's when we start the conversation around, they'll say, well, we want to be able to provide professional development, but we don't have the time or we don't have the resources. Or, we aren't in the position to do it at this time for those reasons. And that's when we start saying, well, here's an opportunity, to do that in a structured way. And not only for your staff, if you have other partners and colleagues that you think could benefit from this. And this is the way to do it. And really just referencing it is an apprenticeship program, but it's more of a structured professional development for your staff, or for your incoming staff that you as an entity, especially being a small organization or a small employer, may not be best equipped to do. And so that's all I wanted to echo, because Jen is absolutely right. Sometimes when we lead with the term apprenticeship, especially around occupations that have maybe not traditionally been apprenticeable, it can feel a bit overwhelming. And so we try to think of it as, you want to train your staff, or you're already training your staff. How can you improve that, which ultimately improves your retention and improves their ability to better serve the people that and target populations that you're trying to support. So
Right. No, that was great. Can you put up the next slide just as I asked the last question, because I want people to see it, before we end this, because I think it's information on, that'll be helpful. How FHI 360, the National Institute for Work and Learning, and what they're doing with the ABA 2 grant is helping the workforce boards. I mean, it's making a difference. And so as this goes up, because I want everybody on the call to know if they need help and more information, how do they get it? And I know you have 2 slides on that. So I'm going to throw out a last question to both of you, but especially Jennifer, let me start with you. Why should the local workforce boards think about this, care about this, consider this as a strategy moving forward. Why?
Well, so it's one of many strategies, but
Yes.
again, it's listening to the employer, to the industry, and helping them navigate what are the different strategies that would be most successful for my workplace. I could add that when we did our incumbent worker training with FHI 360 with the 19 apprentices, 2 of those apprentices were my employees. Um, and they're both retained in the workplace now. One has advanced to be the apprenticeship specialist. So she's a clear ambassador for apprenticeships. And the other one just got selected by Illinois. They have an apprenticeship ambassador program to be part of that ambassador program. So I now know I have 2 employees that are retained that understand this work and can speak fluidly with other employees in this work as well. So it's that, giving and taking back and forth. But it's valid solutions and the employer leads it out. It's not me coming with a training program saying hire from this training program. Employers are leading this out and it's based on their needs.
Oh, great. This has been great. We're just about, and Kelly, let's do the last slide because it's got contact information so that they can, if they want to go back and they have questions. To those who are on the call, we do post this. There we go. This recording will be posted on YouTube, and that will include the slides as well. Stacy put that in the chat box. But if you need more information, you need help, there's go directly to FHI 360. You can contact NAWB, and we'll be glad to provide you any support or direct you to the right place. NAWB is here to give you the tools that you need to meet the both new and expanding needs in all industry sectors. So you feel free to reach out to me at BrayJ, that's B-R-A-Y, BrayJ at NAWB.org, or anybody at NAWB. We do talk to each other, and we'll be glad to, direct you in the right direction and give you any information you want. Jennifer, your email, if you don't mind giving it out again, I do have it, but you want to give everybody your email address just verbally?
J Serino, JSERINO at lakecountyil.gov.
Because what they're doing some very interesting work there, not just in this sector, but across the board. And it's really so much about partnerships, collaborations, and I think that's what I heard from both of you saying is that's what drives that. That's what moves us forward. It also saves a lot of time and energy because it's a group deciding what needs to be done versus an individual going, this is where it should be. So I really do applaud you both. And, and thank you, Jennifer and Kelly, for being part of this and sharing your information and your experience. I will tell you that the information on this will be at the NAWB Forum in March in Las Vegas, so you can sit down with them again and learn more if you want to. But apprenticeship is certainly a growing area in workforce training, work-based learning. Not the only one, as you say, but it is expanding in scope and nature and in funding. So, so I encourage you all to move in that direction. So Jennifer, Kelly, thank you very much. For those of you who are on the call, thank you for joining us. We hope this was productive and informative for you. And we look forward to seeing you with our next webinar. Not sure when it is, but another one. And I wish you all a good day. And if I'm not on another program with you, have a very happy, safe, and enjoyable holiday. Thank you, everyone.